Hello, this is Bridget Rau with Divine Essentials. Okay, guys, so I'm going to talk about synchronicity, the repetitive numbers, the synchronistic numbers that everybody sees 111, 222, all of those. I know some people see them a little bit differently. Maybe you'll see like 1, 2, 3, 4 everywhere you go, or 444, 414, or just completely random like 871. So basically, I'll give you like my little rundown of what I feel this is all meaning and how it can kind of evolve over time, because I found that to be the case for myself and a lot of other people, is that how you feel about the numbers may shift over time, and what the numbers are telling you may shift over time. So in the beginning, I feel like for myself, like I've always seen the numbers, but I didn't necessarily like place a big significance on the numbers. I remember as a kid I saw 1111 a lot, and then growing up there was a friend of mine that whenever we saw it, she'd be like, oh, it's 1111, make a wish. So I just always equated it with make a wish, but never really thought much about it or why, until later on when I went through my awakening, and then I started seeing the numbers again, and then finding that information that they actually had, messages behind them, there was meanings for it. And like the numerology, because there's the numerology that has their meanings for all of the numbers, and they break it down to like the single digits. Then there's like the angel numbers, where people give you like little messages or meanings behind those ones. And so I'll give you like what I kind of think of these numbers, and then we'll go a little deeper into it. So for me, it basically starts with the 111, 1, where it makes sense, 1 is beginning, but 111, for me has been like, pay attention, wake up. Basically, it's that awakening, it's that ascension. It's time for you to pay attention to what you're thinking about and just grab your attention. Sometimes the 1111 people on the twin flame journey connected to like their twin flame, the union coming between them, or just like a reminder of them. And again, I think it's going to be dependent upon you. I mean, I know sometimes people will be super focused on their twin flame, so every time they see the number, they're of course connecting it to that person. And I think those people on that journey may even sometimes connect all of them to the person, when it could definitely be meaning something else. So 222, in the beginning of all of this, I found the information that told me that it basically meant, the things that you're thinking about are now manifesting. And that made sense for me, because it's the progression. If you think about 2, it's like, okay, the next step. However, 2 can also be connected to partnership. It doesn't have to be like a, love partnership. It could be a work partnership. It could be a partnership with a friend or a family member. It could just be something to do with 2 people. And then with the 3s, I found information in the beginning about 333, meaning like the Ascended Masters are with you. And so for me, I always connected that with transmutation as well, because of Saint Germain and the Violet Flame. I don't know why, but it was just something I always connected the 2 things together. So it's always still had that information connected to it for me. 3 can also be connected to like the Holy Trinity, like 3 aspects coming together. And then with the 4s, the basic 4 can be like your foundation, like the 4 pillars of something. But 444 for me has meant the angels are with you. And I remember the beginning of my journey, I told my mother about that. And when she passed at 4:44 a.m. I was holding her hand. I saw her last breath. I look and it's 4:44. And I was like, okay. So I feel like she kind of chose to do that so that every time in the future that I wouldn't always just think, oh, the angels are with me. I would also think that she's with me. So it can also have significant meaning for you, even if it's something that has a meaning for everybody else, like a generic, full-on meaning for everybody. And then with the 5s, those have always signified change, and that seems to be like a common thing. I haven't really seen too many people steer away from the 5s being connected to change. I've heard a couple people say something different, but that goes to show you it depends on you and where the information you go to find it says. So for me, 5 represents change. Now that brings up something too, because sometimes people get scared and they're like, oh, 5. And I'm like, don't be afraid of the change, because it's like change, you need change. If you don't change, you're never going to get anywhere different. Nothing good's ever going to happen, because you're just going to stay exactly where you are. So try not to look at 5 as like a bad thing. I mean, it can definitely signify something is going to get shaken up, but if you look at it in a bad way and perceive it in a bad way, you're just going to attract it to happen in that way. You're going to be resistant to it, and that's going to cause issues with the the shifting of whatever's happening or needing to change. It's funny because I'll have people come to me like for readings, and they're telling me like, oh, I really want this to happen, I really wish this would change, and blah 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 blah, this person, that person, blah 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 blah, and then they're like, 555, I'm afraid, and I'm like, but don't you want something to change in the dynamic of your life? So in order for that to happen, for this good things that you're wanting to happen, you got to go through the change. So try to not look at that in such a negative way. And then 666, same thing. I feel like because our collective consciousness has been so like, ooh, Damien and the devil and the evil, it's gotten like a bad frequency wrapped around it. So sometimes the information I have found connected to the sixes has been like a message of, oh, maybe you're too focused on your ego, you're too focused on money, you're too focused on the physical, you need to get back into balance, you need to like get your alignment, shifted into a more spiritual or love-based type of viewpoint. And I think, again, our collective consciousness will impact a lot of energies and frequencies, or impact your way of looking at certain energies and frequencies. So then sevens, for me, the sevens are very, very divine number. We have 7 main chakras. For me, it also connected with the Pleiadians because there's the 7 sisters, the 7 chakra energy. 7 has just been a divine number. But, the message in the beginning for me, hold on, was the angels are applauding you. So again, it does have a very high vibration energy connected to it. No matter where I've found information next to it, it seems to have like a divine presence connected to it. And then the 8s, for me, look like infinity signs. So I've always looked at that as abundance. A lot of abundance is coming your way. I've seen other people look at it that way. I've also seen people look at it in other ways, like meaning like they might say that the 7s are the abundance and the 8 is just like more of a progression and things are expanding away from that, going forward even better. So again, it's how you look at it. And then the 9, for me, that's always been endings and new beginnings. And I also had somebody tell me one time, because the 9 kind of looks like a person with the head on top, it could be, your 2 in your head. Now, again, that's just going to be significant for you and what makes sense for you. And again, that could change over time. So what you look at, now may be different in 5 years. If you're somebody who wakes up because you met your twin flame and you're looking at the numbers and you're always seeing the 11s connected to them, if later down the road you maybe decide to no longer be, so connected to that, or maybe you get together with that person, you may start seeing the 11s to be something connected to something else. So that is a part of it. Now, I also feel, because of my experiences with it, I've definitely shifted over time. Like the generic messages that I've got in the beginning, I can still come through, but I've also noticed that they can definitely shift and hold other energies, and it can be dependent upon a certain person. So when I would do like my live events, sometimes people would come and they'd ask me, straight up, like, what does this mean? What does this mean? And they'd give me like their sequence, and it would be like 414. And I would tell them the meaning that was connected to it, like, it just kind of come out like in a channeling. And then somebody else could ask the exact same number, and it could have a totally different meaning for that person. So I feel like it's dependent upon you, it's dependent upon your energy, your frequency, what you're rippling out. But we are receiving codes, we're receiving downloads and energy and consciousness, coming through these numbers. Specifically the starseeds, I feel like we receive a lot of them. And it's because we're receivers. You can think of us as like little antennas down here receiving energy and frequency for different reasons, and I feel like when I see them, sometimes they're significant, sometimes I pay attention, sometimes I screenshot or take a picture of it, and other times it may not be so like, I'm not so like, oh wow, look at it. I think that's the difference. Some of them are and some of them aren't, and it's coming in. It is like not necessarily meant for you to know exactly in that moment what it means. And later on it may come out of you through a healing or through words that you speak or through an energy that you emit as you're out and about. Like, have you ever talked to somebody and they just look at you like, wow, I've never thought of it that way? Or you've talked to somebody and you may say something that you're not even sure where it came from. You're just like, wow, where did that come from? I feel like that's kind of connected to those frequencies and energies that we're always receiving, and the numbers are kind of just like another way for us to receive them through this like matrix like system that we're living in. And I feel like because, you know, you evolve and grow over time, you'll probably look at them in different ways over time. So, and it's like for me, like sometimes when I'm doing a reading for people, I'll give them the generic meaning because I feel like that's what they need to know in that moment. But other times I may tell them something completely different connected to that number, and I may not even make note of the number. Sometimes when I do readings, I'll make note of the number on the card if there is one on the card, and speak about it. And sometimes I see the number and I speak about it without telling the people that I'm speaking about the number. So it just really is dependent upon it. And I really don't think that we need to get so super focused on what it means, because that just causes resistance for us in receiving what's trying to come through with it. And more so just trust and allow for it to come through, and just trust and know that you will probably have your view your view shift over time, and know that you'll probably receive and give information connected to these codings and these energies that you're seeing. I mean, your awareness is on it for a reason. And when you get into the synchronicity, also remember that what you're thinking about, what you're putting out, is what you're attracting. So sometimes you could start seeing something and then start attracting it to you. And that could be with things beyond the numbers too. Like maybe you see a butterfly, and then like you go on Facebook and there's a butterfly, and then you know, go down the road and there's a car with a butterfly on it, and you just keep seeing them over and over. I feel like they could definitely have a message for you, like a transformation message, or it's time for a metamorphosis of something. But it could also be that maybe you're super focused on the butterfly at that time, so they're going to keep, you're going to keep attracting it to you. Kind of like the concept if you get a car, and it's maybe a car that you didn't see that too often, and now that you have it everywhere you go, you see like the same make, the same model, the same color and everything. It's because your awareness is on it. So I think there are, again, different levels to it. There can definitely be meanings and messages behind things, but I think it's going to be more so how you feel in the moment of seeing it. You know, sometimes you could just see one moose and just know in that moment that there's a message behind the moose. So you Google like the meaning of the moose, and you were like, oh my god, that makes so much sense. But, you know, other times you could see like a squirrel 3 times in one day and still not look up the meaning of it. It's just going to be dependent upon, you know, the energy that you are in and how receptive you are, and if it's truly a message for you. Which, again, in this world that we live in now, like I like people to have like a healthy skepticism behind this stuff, because if you have Facebook or anything like that and you've given permission to like take a photo or to record you in any way, your phone hears the things you talk about, it knows the things you search for, and they can see the things that you do. So if you're getting ads, or you're, you know, seeing things connected to what you've just Googled, or things that you just said to somebody in the presence of your phone, don't be surprised if you start seeing ads for irrelevant content connected to it, because that's how it works. It's all algorithms. These companies pay huge money to Google and to Facebook and all these other places to put their information in front of you so that you as a consumer will purchase things that are connected to. And we are now in a time too where it's like whatever you like those algorithms are there so that you can join those groups or you'll see those posts. So always have a healthy skepticism. I'm not saying that you can't see synchronicity things on your phone. Sometimes like I'll just think of something and then I start seeing things connected to it that aren't for me to buy. Sometimes I'll see things that are connected to stuff that I know isn't anyway, you know, in the algorithms or in the little bots that are running all of this stuff. And, you know, like the numbers on the phone, like they can't, like they're not going to know what number I'm thinking of. You know what I mean? Like if I look down and it's 111, then okay, it's 111. Like that is something that can't be manipulated. But basically, you know, it's like these things will shift, these things will change. And again, try not to let anybody else be the person that gives you like the catch-all be-all meaning of it, you know. And think about it in this way, like everything that's ever been put out there, everything that we've ever learned, everything that's ever been written in a book, somebody came up with it. I know there's some instances where science has come and backed something up and it's like 17 people did the same experiment and they all came to the same conclusion, so, you know, everybody's like, yep, that's what we believe to be the thing. But even in those cases, sometimes somebody comes in and they do it a little bit differently and they get to something that's even better. So try not to limit yourself by being like, okay, 111 is always going to mean this, or 555 is always going to mean this. Try to allow it to shift and evolve over time so that you can shift and evolve over time, and don't take anybody else's word for these things, and know that your synchronicity is going to be significant for you, more so than anybody else. So doing a synchronicity journal has been helpful for me in the past. The last time I did one, it was the time I was making my Starseed Oracle, and I noticed that they were actually guiding me to information to include in the Oracle deck, and I was like, oh wow, this is really cool. And so I feel like that's something too you can put out to the universe, like what you need assistance with or what you're focusing on at that time, and they will give to you little like keys and little energies and frequencies to assist you to get to where you're trying to go. And sometimes they'll show you something that you need to do, and if you don't pay attention to it, I feel like it's just going to keep showing up over and over and over until you finally do. So you may see 999 like every day, all day, or 9111, and that's like emergency, pay attention, you got to do this. And you'll probably start running into roadblocks in those cases, or you'll start running into something that is blocking you from, moving forward until you acknowledge whatever it is. It could be big or little. Try not to let that freak you out. I know people get freaked out about this stuff. It's like everything that we go through is for our highest best in the end. People call them tower moments or big, changes that are scary for them. But in the end, things are always pushing us to our best. And if you have that outlook and you believe in that and you trust in yourself and you trust in the universe and the synchronicity, things should be, a little easier for you. And you'll start to see even more so of the people who are out of alignment, the ones that aren't seeing the synchronicity, the ones that are totally cut off from their guidance system. They may seem to be happy or seem to be having whatever it is, but usually the happiest people are the ones that are tuned in on some level and believe in something outside of themselves assisting them, and they're grateful for it. Those are the people who are succeeding and doing really good. So try to just trust and know that these things will shift over time, and don't get too like, oh, what is this telling me? Just relax and let it come, meditate on it. You'll feel it, you'll know it, and like I said, even if you don't understand it all the way, you're still receiving it on some level, and that's all you really need to know, and everything else will just come together for you. Okay? So hopefully that assisted you guys. Thank you very much. Let me know what your numbers are. Let me know what your synchronicity stories are. Let me know if you want me to talk anything else about this, if you have any questions about this, or if there's something else that you want to know about like this. I do have a whole bunch of stuff to bring forward. I finished working on some of the stuff on my website, so now I just have to record some things, get some stuff like put together, and I'll have a bunch of new stuff available for all of you, and a bunch of new videos connected to this stuff as well. So let me know if there's something specific you want me to talk about first, or something else that you want me to talk about. And other than that, thank you guys very much. In Mune, namaste.